Okay, so we just want to quickly remind you about your expanding brackets. So you can do a little bit of a task at the end of this, hand it up to me, and then we can tick off that you've got expanding brackets under control. So just to recall, in between the 3 and the brackets, you know that there's a times there, and that means that everything in this bracket is going to be multiplied by the 3. So you can draw the little loops if you like, you don't have to. 3 times 5x, so 3 5s, 15, and you're also timesing by the x, and instead of saying times x, we just put that there. And this is a positive 3, right? There's no sign in front, so we assume it's positive. It's a positive 3 times a negative, so that becomes negative 3 2s are 6. We check there are no like terms here, so we don't have to do anything, we leave as is. On to the next one, same thing, there's a times in between, so nothing new. We times everything in the bracket now by 2x, not just 2, but 2x. So 2x times 4, 2 4s are 8, and we pop the x there. Same is that there's no sign in front, so we know that that's a positive. A positive times a negative is a negative. Now you have to work out what's 2x times 7x. So 2 7s are 14, and x times x, that's x squared. Okay, remember that, x times x is x squared. On to the next one. The only difference now is it's a negative, so you have to be thinking of your negative numbers. So when we've got the times here again, negative times a positive, we say it's minus, and 4 6s are 24, and once again we're timesing by the x. A negative times a negative is a positive, and 4 3s are 12. We're done. Now we just want to combine them together a little bit here. Some of the mistakes that people make is they want to times everything by the 5a, but it's only for this bracket here. So it's just going to be 5a times what's in our bracket there. So 5 2s, 10. What's a times a squared? I hope you've said that's a cubed, right? So remember, a times a squared. Now a squared is a times a, and that's why we get the a cubed. Or you might want to have recalled our indice laws, that when I'm timesing by the same base, you add the powers, so 1 plus 2, and you get 3 again. So whichever method makes sense to you, that's fine. Now we've got a positive times a negative is minus, and 5a times 1 is 5a. We carry on over here, making sure that we know that in front of the a, we've got this negative here. I'll just get rid of that, it looks confusing. So it's a negative times a positive, which we know is a negative. There's my colour gone. Right, so that will be negative 3a squared. Now a negative times a negative, that's a positive. And it's got the big number there of 4. But this time, what's a squared times a? Well, this again is our a cubed. Before we go on to the next question, we have to check, are there any like terms? And we can see, yes, there are. We've got a 10a cubed and a 4a cubed. So that becomes 14a cubed because I'm adding here. We've only got this a squared, so it's just minus 3a squared. And I like to put it in order of the powers of the highest terms there. And there you have it. Okay, so now it's time for you to just have a bit of a practice with these, please. So pause the video and do this on a bit of scrap paper, and we'll check it in about a minute. So pause. Okay, so hopefully you can check your answers and you're reasonably successful. So 7 4s are 28, x times x is x squared. Got our 35x. We went downstairs here. 2 5s are 10. Did you get the a cubed, right? It's got to be a cubed, and of course negative. Negative times a positive is a negative, and that's 2 2s are 4a squared. Coming up to this one, right, that's pretty self-explanatory, remembering that x times x to the 4, right, timesing by the same base, so you add the powers. Sorry, x times x cubed is x to the 4. We carry on over here, 9 negative times a positive is a negative, 9 2s are 18, a negative times a positive is a minus, and now we have to gather like terms. So here we've got 15 minus 27, because they're both the x to the 4, the coefficients of x to the 4. So 15 minus 27 is minus 12. Check on your calculators if you're unhappy with negative numbers. And then we've got 6x take 18x. So 6 take 18 is minus 12. So hopefully you got most of that right. If you didn't, stop the video and make your corrections. So now we want to go a little bit further and look at what happens when we have what we call the double brackets. This is binomial expansion. So still nice, I think. It's just that this time, everything in this bracket has to be multiplied by everything in this. So if we do it in an order, we go, well, we're going to go x, everything in this bracket times that x, and then there. So everything has been multiplied by this x, and now everything in this bracket gets multiplied by the 3. Pretty simple. X times x, that gives me x squared. If we follow the other loop, x times 4, we just say that's 4x. 3 times x is 3x. And last but not least, 3 times 4 is 12. Now we gather our like terms. X squared, there's only one of those. 4x plus 3x is 7x. And then plus 12. Done. You can make it a little bit trickier if there's a number in front of the x, but same thing. 2x times is everything in the brackets. 2x times x is 2x squared. Now here we go, a positive times a negative. I'm going to put minus, and 2x times 4, so 4 lots of 2x is 8x. Minus 1 times x is minus 1x, and I don't have to write 1x, I can just put x. And last but not least, this last loop, what's negative 1 times negative 4? So a negative times a negative, I put plus, and 1 times 4 is just 4. Gather our like terms. There's no other x squareds apart from that one. Let's have a look at this. Minus 8x, take another 1x. So that's minus 8, take 1, I give you 8. I give you another 1. That is minus, giving you 9 altogether, minus 9x plus 4. Done. If we go up here, you might need to put an extra little step in, because what does squaring mean? Squaring means timesing by itself. Right, so it's that, and then once again you can draw in your loops. If you get confident and you don't need to draw them in, well then don't. X times x, x squared. X times negative 7 is negative 7x. Now we do the underneath loops where we've got this negative 7 times x, negative 7, and a negative times a negative here becomes a plus, and 7 times 7 is 49. Gather our like terms. Once again, only 1x squared minus 7 take 7 is minus 14x, and then we plus 49. Only 2 more to go, and then you're going to do some all by yourself. Now, you could actually pause the video now and see if you could get this out. My tip is expand these first, then you times through by the 2. So feel free to pause, and then you can check that you've done this the right thing. So as I said, keeping the minus 2 there, I'm going to expand this first, and I keep the bracket because I have to multiply everything by that minus 2 right at the end. So x times 3x, we get 3x squared. X times minus 1 is minus x. Underneath now, 5 times x. So 5 lots of 3x is 15x, positive thereof. Now a positive times a negative gives me the minus, and 5 ones are just 5. I'm going to tidy up what's inside the bracket first. So minus 1x plus 5, so minus 1 plus 5 becomes plus 4x. Take 5, and you're nearly done. All we have to do now is multiply through by this negative 2. So negative 2 times 3 is negative 6x squared. Negative times a positive, minus 8x. Negative times a negative is a positive, and 2 5s are 10. So I hope you got that. And how about try this one now? We'll pause. You can pause the video. So pause and see if you can do this. It's in 2 stages. Technically it's 2 questions all in one. So pause. So I'm going to expand this. This is 3x 1 times 3x plus 1 minus, and I might as well expand that while I'm here. So got to keep the bracket there. X times x, x squared. X times 1 is a 1x. I'll just put x. Minus 2 times x, minus 2x. Minus 2 times positive 1, so a negative times a positive is a minus 2. That's already done, and now my next line I'm going to start expanding this one. So do my loops again. It should be pretty repetitive by now. 3x times 3x. So 3 3s are 9. X squared. 3x times 1. 3x. Underneath now, 1 times 3 is 3x. 1 times 1 is 1. Over here, the minus is still there. I've got an x squared, 1x, take 2x. So 1 take 2 is minus 1. And again, I'm not going to write minus 1x, just minus x. Take 2. Let's start gathering our like terms. 9x squared, 3x plus 3x is 6x. Still got the plus 1. Now what are we going to do here? Before, when we had something in front of the bracket here, we were quite happy we just multiplied everything through by 2. But what's going on here? Well, technically, there's a negative 1 there. So minus 1 times x is minus x squared. Negative times a negative is a positive. That's x. And once again, negative times a negative is a positive. And 1 times 2 is 2. So that's how I look at it. Or you could just view it as you're subtracting x squared, you're subtracting x, and minus 2 gives you the plus. So however you wish to view that. Gather our like terms. 9x squared, take x squared, gives me an 8x squared. 6x plus x is 7x. And then we've got 1 plus 2 is 3. So hopefully you got close with that. Remember, it's nice if you do get them all right. You can make a little mistake every now and again. That's not going to mean the end of the world. Just double check and be careful. All right, so could you, for me please, on a separate piece of paper, can you please very carefully answer these questions, write them up, and remember, write the question and then show your working and the answer nice and clear. And if you could hand that up Monday, that would be great. Remember, I'm there at lunch if you need help. Okay, good luck. Hope that helped.